All right, and now on to the second quadrant of the zodiac signs, and that starts with the water sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon and is the basic feminine, divine feminine energy. It's not really the divine, that would be more Venus, would be the divine feminine, but it's the basic feminine energy that's within everybody. It's like the spirit, and being able to communicate to the spirit, being able to understand your dreams and your subconscious urges, to be able to work and integrate the self with the spirit, the mind and the body. The moon is significant in so many different ways within people's emotional selves. You can see in a chart if there's going to be any emotional difficulties, challenges to the moon. Those aspects will always be something to take note of. In astrology, the moon sign is very important. It rules the inner self. It rules the emotional body. It rules the emotions and your past lives, your dreams, anything that is the receptive part of the psyche. It's that kind of archetype. It is a cardinal sign, like I said, ruled by the moon, and it's in that fourth house. So again, it is going from cardinal to fixed to mutable. So this is the cardinal sign of Cancer, and then we'll move to the fifth house. The fifth house is the fixed energy of Leo. And Leo energy is very much about the creative. It's about expressing one's authentic self into the world. It's about showing that spiritual sense that you connected to in the fourth house with the moon. It's about putting that on display and living that spiritual self. Leo is all about putting the spirit on the spotlight. It's the fifth sign of the zodiac, and it being a fixed fire sign, it is also the house of sex and children and expanding on that level with another human. Because once you integrate the spirit in the fourth house, then the fifth house is about exploring, again, that spiritual connection to another person. So it is a love house. I wouldn't consider it like a marriage house unless there's other aspects being shown, because commitment and love are two different things. But it's more like that teenager love where you fall in love for the first time and you're like, I've never felt this way before. I didn't know this existed. You know, that kind of love. That's Leo energy. And then you move to the sixth house, which is another mutable sign. And the mutable energy, like I said, will move it into the next quadrant. So from learning about your emotions and about your inner self to trying to connect that inner self to another's inner self via relationship in Leo, then you move to Virgo and it's purified. The Virgin is about purity and about sovereignty. It is about taking that relationship through a filter of purity. If it can sustain Virgo, it can sustain anything, because Virgo is about the details. It picks out all of the things that are not going to work and tosses them aside. It's the harvest time. Virgo is the time of year when you reap what you've sown type of sense, and that in ancient times that was when they would actually get their crops up and separate the crops that were not good from the ones that were going to serve them throughout the rest of the winter. And so Virgo season is very much about the sovereignty within yourself and a relationship. So when you find that inner self with the moon in the fourth house, move to the fifth, and you find that you connect that inner self with another's inner self through love, then you purify it. Then whatever sustains that purification process will then be mutated, like mutable sign, into the next quadrant. And if you can work in day-to-day life together too, that's a very important part of Virgo, is that it is about the processing and digesting of information, because it rules, the stomach. It's very much like that on a spiritual level too, is that it has to digest the relationship and kind of like, go through it and see if it is something that can sustain, and then it would move into the next quadrant for the partner house.